Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. It's me, GWFM, and you're going to be watching Let's Talk Leeds. Today I've got two guests with me today. I've got none other than Just Mike Plays. How are you, mate?
Hello. Not too bad, you right?
I'm not so bad, not so bad. And also, Mattinho got game.
I'm not sleeping this time, I'm actually here.
He's actually here, yeah. Last time he didn't make it
You're
because he fell asleep. Nice one, cheers.
I'm
pal.
old, leave me alone. Yeah, I'm alright, mate.
So you might remember Mattinho from the one that did just towards the back end of the season when things were not going very well. And obviously, if you joined us on the last one where we were talking about Bielsa coming in the first place before the press conference, which is what we're going to be talking about today, he was on the last one, of course, and hopefully it went down quite well. But anyway, so what we're going to be talking about in today's episode, if you want to call it that, is the press conference and 5 key points on it, which are: should we be excited? What should we expect? Transfer rumours. 15 players that may leave, because we'll get into that shortly. That's one of the things that were mentioned. And do we see any negatives? So we're going to start off with, should we be excited? Right, so first of all, we're going to start off with, should we be excited? And the first thing I want to mention on the press conference is that I felt that there were an aura about him, that it was like, he had this presence of like discipline. I mean, it took a while for him to break a smile. And I just thought that it was kind of angry looking, which is probably, what we need. Someone who's going to scare the shit out of the players. I mean, I don't know what you guys think. I don't know. Let's go first.
Matt, you can jump in if you want.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's still trying to, just wrap his head around it, get settled and so on. But I think his reputation precedes him a little bit in terms of what he's going to expect from the players. So in terms of scaring him, maybe a little bit, but I think he'll come good.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
Mike?
I think he held himself really well in terms of. I know obviously he was being translated, but I think the whole press conference he came across really well. He was like trying, not to give too much away, but at the same time give us as much of a feeling about it as he can. He kept trying to, I think at some points he was kind of getting a little bit annoyed with the fact that people were directing similar questions towards him, basically trying to probe a little bit more. So he was kind of like deflected by just giving a very boring standard answer.
Yeah.
So I don't think he's going to take any rubbish. I do hope that he kind of picks up the English language as quickly as he can, because I think obviously it's going to be, as well as he seems to come across, although through the translator, it's going to be really hard for him to really get, to know the players and with somebody else kind of as a middleman. So I am hoping that he kind of keeps to his word and does pick up the language.
Just to jump in again afterwards, because you mentioned about the whole English. He does know a little bit of English from what I've heard. It's just he didn't want to use it in the press conference because he wants to get better at it before using it. So he's aware of it. So he is going to be getting better at it. So that's a good thing that he's aware that he, having the English language in his repertoire, so to speak, is going to be advantageous.
Of course, yeah, and I think you've got to remember as well that they've got a couple of Spanish players in the side, in like Saiz and Hernandez, and I would guess Hernandez is definitely going to be part of the plans after signing his new contract. Mm-hmm. So he's definitely going to be there, I would imagine, anyway, just if they do need it. Otherwise, I've got a few other things I've got quite a lot. I'm going to show the actual notepad here. I've got this and like another page and another page. So they've got quite a few bits to get through. Hopefully we'll jump through them quite quick, because I know the last one went on quite long. But yeah, in terms of the promotion chances, he tried to answer it, but in a way that didn't really give anything away, which I think is like kind of a reminder to last season when Adriani came out and said, we should be. He expected basically top 6 because of where we finished the season before, when we finished 7th. Progress equaled playoffs basically, or above. This season he's been realistic on promotion chances. Says he can't promise it because nothing is certain in football, but we can dream and aim to achieve that dream of getting at least, I guess, into the playoffs, but ultimately promotion either way, either through winning league or second or the playoffs. I mean, what do you think on that? Anything in particular, or is it just straightforward?
I think I quite like the fact that he didn't just basically come out and say, yes, we're going to win. We're able to promoted this season. That was quite nice, because you kind of think sometimes when you get a manager in and they're just almost, it's a bit of lip service to kind of say what they think the fans want to hear. And that's not always like, yes, obviously we want to get back to the Premier League, but we also want, our expectations set. So if he thinks this is going to be a bit longer than one season, it's not going to be one season fix. Then I think it's quite good for him to come out and say, that obviously that's the dream, but it's he's not promising from day one that that's what's going to happen. Obviously, at the end of the day, he's not been with the players that long. It's
of course.
How's he going to know if he's got a squad or if he's got the resources available to definitely push on for a Premier League? Obviously, the biggest thing I think he needs to do is get us over this whole completely like crumbling after kind of New Year kind of thing, because that was what killed us. I think we were doing well last season up until 2018 hit, and then it was just awful. So I quite liked his stance on it. Really, I don't know what you thought, Matt.
I mean, I think the biggest thing that always catches managers out and has for the last 10, 15 years is the sheer level of expectation.
Yeah.
And it's just a massive weight. So I think it's important for us as fans and for Marcelo as well to just sort of taper those expectations a little bit. It's important to remember it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take time for not only the new players that we're going to get in to sort of gel with the squad, but also everybody to kind of get on the same page, because it's going to be a really big change from last season, not just in terms of what's happening on the field, formations, tactics, and so on, but the whole philosophy in the background, so to speak, as well. So I'm hopeful that we can push on for promotion, and I think we will with the right signings, but I think it's important not to, after 10 games, have the entire fan base jumping on his back because we've lost 7 out of 10 and we've only won 1 and drawn 2. It's going to take time, and we've got to just taper expectations a little bit, because I think that's the biggest problem. We go into every season thinking we're going to walk it, and I don't really see why. If we were a Manchester City or a Chelsea or something like that, we knew we were going to have the squad in place to go and push on and be successful but we haven't really had that. It's just, I think maybe we're just reliving past glories a little bit too much. So it's just important to just taper expectations and be patient.
Well, I mean, thing is, I kind of get what you're saying, but at the same time, we've gone out and stuck his neck on the line and gone out and paid out a shitload of money, basically, for a top manager, and I think that's one of the reasons why people are going to be excited and probably expectant as well, because at the end of the day, we've got, like I say, a top manager in, and you expect he's going to do a lot better than what the previous regime did, if you know what I mean. So it's a case of, we've got to temper his expectations, but that's going to be hard for all Leeds fans. I mean, I would guess you'd know as well as I do how much you see on the social media, people kicking off at players and whatever. And if you're not performing, the same thing could happen again. It could get hounded out, but it'd be a very expensive sacking, if you ask me. But hopefully we'll come to that. We're meant to be excited about it. I'm excited about it. But there's one other thing that ties in with this, and he's basically avoided a question on what's a measure of success. Like I say, he was trying to avoid setting himself a target to be above. Because, obviously, Christensen, his target was to finish in the playoffs. As soon as he was below that, basically, 7th. Were we 7th when we sacked him? I think we were, weren't we? And he brought in Heckenbottom. So I think we were 7th, 8th, something like that. We were only 3 points. It might have been, I think we might have dropped to 10th, but we're only 3 points off 7th or something. I can't remember exactly. But we ended up sacking him. So it's trying to prevent having that boundary sort of thing for him to basically get himself sacked or have fans get on his back or whatever. But like I said, we're hoping to stay excited. That's the idea. We've got this signing in. We've got him in for a reason. I think we've got to be expectant, but like you said, just have a little bit of realism as well, in terms of it's going to be a change of formation and philosophy and the way they work. And I think the way he's going to be working in terms of the pre-season in particular, he's going to be working through the paces. I mean, just today, I've seen, I don't know how true it is, but I'm guessing it is, they started, I think, at 7:30 and they finished at 8:30 tonight, and it's been triple sessions. So, and I would imagine it'd be pretty damn hard, I would guess, based on what I saw on the Marseille video, when they were basically dead on the feet, and well, they weren't even dead on the feet, they were laid on the floor, dying. So, I'm looking forward to it. But I think now it's time that we move on to the second part, which is, what should we expect? So, based on the press conference, that is, what should we expect? He's basically turned around and said that he thinks that players that we have at the club already, quite a few of them have got the quality to suit his style of play, his philosophy. I don't know whether you think that's concerning or not. What do you think?
Not so much concerning, because we know that on our day, with the right person in charge, or with the right tactics and so on and so forth, we can go out and beat teams. We saw it in the first few games of the season up until the international break, where we were sweeping teams aside. I think that's sort of what we can hopefully come to expect, because those first few games of the season last term, we were chasing teams down, we were harrying them, no one had a chance to breathe against us, and we got the results and the rewards because of that. So it's just about, I'm not sure what happened afterwards, but we seem to just suddenly go away from that. I think we mentioned in a previous video, G, that Millwall game straight after the international break, just the wrong time and the wrong venue to be having that game. But
definitely.
I think, like I said, we've got some really, really good players. Sai's on his day, I think, could easily be one of the top 5 players in the Championship. Janssen could be easily top 3 central defenders in the league as well on his day. So it's just about not necessarily adding quantity, but quality. I think that's been one of the big problems we've had in recent years. We've not added enough quality. We've got a big squad at the moment. 15 players are going, which we'll get into later. But
yeah.
I think we do. I'm not necessarily worried about the fact that there are some players that he thinks can do the job, because I think there are players that can do the job. It's just making sure we get the players around them to do the job.
Of course, yeah. Mike?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much you kind of guys have covered most things there. I mean, I think obviously, you mentioned about like what his kind of perfect player was when he's pushed about it. And it was good to see that that he mentioned a few traits which obviously we probably say quite a lot of our players have got. I think Matt was spot on with the fact that we have got quite a large squad. Well,
it's ridiculously large, isn't it? Like you said, quantity rather than quality.
But yeah, it just seemed like a lot of kind of fillers. So I mean, I understand that obviously in a perfect reality, you're going to have a player vying for each position. So you've got 2 solid left backs who are constantly pushing each other. 4 solid centre backs if you're playing 2 at the back. 2 for each position. But obviously, if you've got 2 or 3 at each position, but you've only got your starters, and then the rest of the kind of depth beyond that is just not really up to the level.
Yeah,
there's no real point having them. So obviously, about the 15 players that we're going to mention later, I do think that's quite in a way.
It's going to be interesting. I think later on, what we'll do is we'll ask everyone what they think their 15 players that will go as well. Sorry, Matt, to jump in. Carry on.
No, it's all right. But yeah, it was. I just think. He's just the whole kind of press conference. He was just very much kind of only answering questions that he wanted to answer, deflecting anything that he kind of didn't really have an answer to. He kind of wasn't. It led to be like pushed around by the journalists, which is good. It's like he's a very, very strong, confident person. Obviously, he's got background in. I'm not too sure what the media is like in other countries, but I imagine ours is quite aggressive sometimes. The journalists can kind of hound
the push for questions that they really sometimes should be asking.
So it's quite pleasant to see that he doesn't look like he's going to take any kind of like basically rubbish from them. Pleasing to obviously hear that like his philosophy on the game. I think he's mentioned him that he wants to get the ball on the floor, wants to play football. You won't really see long balls pumped forward. He's asked about obviously like he's going to be Don Reeves or Clough, and he said that he didn't want to cheat. Basically, he wants to play the game of football. So obviously that's going to be kind of instilled into the players, which would be good. And I think he mentioned at one point he wanted like a really attacking ethos as well. That's the kind of main thing he wants: high press attacking kind of from the off. I mean, this is all me done without I've actually left my notes at work as well, so this is all me just from memory. I can't believe I've left them all at work.
True pro.
But I think it's I think we should. I don't want us to get too carried away, but at the same time, as Matt mentioned earlier, we can't continue this kind of toxic thing. What happens when we lose a few games and it's like get him out, get rid of him. He's rubbish. It's like imagine if obviously I hate to mention Manchester United, but imagine if they did that to Alex Ferguson when he went through that rough patch. What could have happened there?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not always about like it's not instant results. I know obviously football is a results game, but you've got to when they're trying to change a whole philosophy, you can't let them get rid of them after a few games. It's just not it's just not a winning formula for anyone, really.
I mean, I think personally, in terms of we're changing the philosophy, I think if you see where we're at Christmas time, if we're in the bottom three, then obviously then you start to think, well, there's something not right, or if we're not far off the bottom three, like in terms of like might be 2 points clear of them, you might be thinking, well, maybe it's not worked, maybe we need to go for something else. But I'd still be tempted to give him the full season anyway. But obviously, it's a bit harsh because you get to March and he's still around the bottom three. There's a chance you can drop down. However, you've got to give these things time to, all these ideas to bed in and whatever. You've got the players that have got to learn the system and learn what the demands are, because it's, like you say, it's very attacking. I believe it's high press as well. There's going to be a lot asked of the players that we've got, and like I said, some of them straight away they'll be fit enough. I think for one, I mean, some people might say that he'll be out at door because he might not be good enough, but I think fitness wise, I'd like to think that someone like Stuart Dallas will run forever, and he'll be an obvious person. You might disagree with me, that we'll get onto that later on with the 15 that are going out. But like I said, I'm going to touch it later, but I'll touch on it now. The players that he's wanting, they need to be mentally strong to know when teams change the systems and stuff, to identify it and try and counter it straight away. They've got to have sufficient ability, which is, like I've just said, they've got to, if Dallas might not have the sufficient ability, we don't know. They've got to be bright and intelligent, ties in with the mentally strong, physical and brave, and competitive strength. Got to come, competitive spirit, I think is what I've meant to write there. But yeah, I don't know how many fit. I mean, he said none of them fit the bill completely, but there'll be elements of every player will have at least 2 of those, I reckon. And it's about trying to get out of them a third and a fourth, and then the 5th element of it, which I don't think we'll see the 5th element, unless you've watched it with Bruce Willis, etc. But obviously, never mind.
Multi pass.
But I don't know where I'm going with that. But yeah, you're not going to see all 5 at this level. Only like the top peak players are at the top of the game. You're going to see that. But I think
took away that he was basically saying that not Leeds players. I thought he was saying that no player has. That's what I thought.
He might have said that. To be fair, you might be right, but I think it's more a case of the other people that are likely to have them. I think is what I was trying to aim towards. Is like your Ronaldos and that, which obviously he's obviously, you'd say he's got most of that, if not all of it. You'd think, wouldn't you? Right, guys. So, what do you think? Before we get into the transfers sort of section of it, and who we think, what we think is going to happen, Orta is going to be still in charge of transfers, with sounds of things, in terms of finding the players. I know, obviously, he said that he's going to be basically having a look at the players that he suggests to him, and he'll make a decision. But is it not pretty much the same as what it was before?
Yeah, from what he said, like, Orta recommends the players, then they have basically a conversation. I suppose in a way, I don't know how I feel about it, to be fair, because obviously it's not been, Orta's not the flavour of the year at Leeds, really. But, again, I'm willing to give him another chance now. I've got a new manager in charge. Maybe he's going to have a bit more say in it. From what it sounded like, he's going to be recommending players, but maybe from his feedback, maybe Orta might take that on board that that's not kind of what he's looking for in his team. So yeah, possibly it could work well. I'd rather he just kind of had full kind of control really on him telling or I suppose in a way him telling Orta, this is kind of what I'm looking for in a player. You go and find me him, kind of thing, more than Orta just kind of picking random players.
Yeah, it's got like a filter, if you like.
Football manager filter.
Football manager filter, just tick at certain things. But Matt?
I mean, just kind of echoing what Mike said, really. Everybody really got on his back when the signings didn't work out. I mean, some of them sort of worked out. Alioski sort of did. Not throughout the whole season. He had blips here and there, and the same with Saiz. He was absolute crap towards the back end of the season. But I think it's going to be better now, like Mike said, because it's just a case that Orta can recommend players, but no one's coming in unless the manager gives the say. And I think that's sort of the overarching theme that we've come to expect from him from other clubs. Whereas the buck stops with him. If he doesn't want him, a player like that, Jerry
Yeah,
whatever
we
his
spoke
name is.
about him last time. We were exactly the same. I couldn't remember his last name.
Yeah, from what I've heard, that transfer's been vetoed, which I'm really happy about.
Yeah,
so it's not just going to be a case that, also gets in his book, buys players, chucks them at the manager and says, make it work. It's just, a bit more collaboration. I mean, his contacts will be good to have, but it's just good that he's not the one fully minding the shop. It's going to be a two-man job. And, when the manager knows what he wants and he can get what he wants, and I think we'll start moving places.
Indeed, yes. Right. The other thing that I've got written down to do with that is, because this is another thing, it says he got asked where do we need to improve from last season? And he said he'd rather not give an empty answer. I think it was meaning more towards past managers, which is fair enough. I think it's a bit of a touch of class there. It is not slating them saying, oh, well, they did this wrong, they did that wrong. Basically, they were shit at the jobs, in other words. But I think that would kind of like to try and see like what positions he'd be looking at, and he still hasn't really said as we move on to the transfer questions, which I will go on to now. So we'll start off with a few rumours. One of them is, I mentioned last time about Vidra and Hernandez. Hernandez has still nothing been said on that just yet. But Vidra, I've heard today that they'd agreed, like, basically, might as well have agreed terms, but it's just agreeing a deal with Derby. And apparently we'd offered 9 million, and apparently they're now wanting 15 million, whereas before it was 11. So for some reason they've put the price up. So I'm not entirely sure what's happening. That's just something I saw today. It could be a load of balls. It might be wrong, but I'm hopeful that it's still going to be done, because he'd be class. Him and Hernandez would be class if we could have them two up top. That'd be fantastic in my opinion. But there's not really been any other rumours since last week that I've seen. I don't know if you guys have heard anything else.
I've seen. Well, they're just long shots more than anything. I think it's just people making stuff up as always. But I've read that Lewis Graben potentially is being looked at.
Yeah.
Supposedly somebody spotted Danny Graham arriving at Thorpe Park earlier.
I hope not.
Yeah.
It's like him at Blackburn. I think he just signed a new contract, so I don't think that'll be right.
Yeah, no, I think that was just complete hearsay. Quite a lot of people were mentioning. I don't know if it's just because he's been on TV, but I've noticed quite a lot of people, especially in the last kind of few hours, have been mentioning that that he might take Sabaleta as backroom staff, but I can't see that happening because is he even retired?
No, I think he's still playing. He's younger than me. Yeah. Believe it or not, he looks about 45, but I think he's only just come 33. I think. Just kind of all the same stuff. Kind of reiterate. I've not actually seen anything on your kind of Fernando Torres. No, there's nothing since.
Throughout last week.
Nothing since. I'll be honest with you.
No, but obviously, I think in terms of Gunn has been mentioned once more again in terms of goalkeepers. With the fact, obviously, that Felix the Cat left.
Felix.
No, it's kind of all just been the same sort of stuff. Hernandez here, Vidra there. Odd sprinkling of Spurs and Man City youngsters. I mean, there's another one that I've just seen here about Pep Guardiola reportedly wanted to loan out Lucas Nimicha.
Oh yeah,
I've never heard of him.
Yeah, he's one even I've not heard of him either.
He's on Football Manager.
Yeah,
he's there. He's on it.
But yeah, I mean, it's sort of just the same rumours being just regurgitated over and over again, and until we see someone kind of, from our end, I think importantly, just saying that yes, we're working on this. It should be a day or so to get it sorted. Then we're still a little bit in the dark. Heard something about the Bartley deal not going through, or he's going to West Brom on loan. So
I've seen that as well.
Again, I'd be disappointed with that, because I think, as we saw with Bartley and Janssen, they were a brilliant partnership. Whether they could rekindle it, I'm not sure, but I think it might be worth the gamble. But again, nothing concrete yet.
Do you not think though it's going to be slightly different anyway, because we're going to be playing three at the back? Or do you just think it would be them two? Say if we did get Bartley, I know it's unlikely now. It sounds like, and then Ayling playing as a centre back, because he can play centre back, and by all accounts, a lot of the teams that are playing three at the back have moved. Like look at Chelsea when they won the league. Azpilicueta played at right back. Walker in England currently, yeah. So I think it's something that could be done. I mean, he's not exactly small, is he? I think he's taller than both of them. I think he's ailing.
He could try a youngster though. He could be thinking like to, or maybe he has got, there's that what's his name, Tosin,
someone off RBI or however it's called.
From Man City. I know he played. I know he was quite pivotal in their what is it, under 23s? Is it called now? I can't remember what it is. The development league.
Yeah.
I think he played like every game for them. So
it might make sense for him to come out on loan.
Yeah, but so he might be like looking at 2 experienced centre backs and then just a youngster, or he could move. He did say he does like versatile players, didn't he? Because I think he mentioned about I think he meant to say Berardi. I'm not too sure when he's talking about a player who can play in multiple positions. I mean, obviously Stuart Dallas pretty much played in every position nearly possible.
Looks like we're in for James Milner then, isn't it? Players.
I'd take him.
I would as well. Midfield general. He's the Gordon Strachan that we need. But right, so moving on to the next part, basically. As we mentioned before earlier, there's 15 players to go, basically. It says 10-15 players, but if you're saying 10-15, it must mean 15 surely. Now I've got a list written down. It says, just to touch on it, it says there's too many at the club, basically, as we mentioned. So there's going to be some departures, and then there's going to be 4 or 5 positions need strengthening. We'll move on to that afterwards. So I'm going to go through it now, my list, and see what you think, and see if you agree with it. If there's any you disagree with, pull me on any of them and tell me why you'd keep them. So the first one I've got is I forgot his name. Is Osim Boy, whatever it's called, because we've never seen him. I think he's 24 years old now. He's not exactly a youngster. He can't play under 23s, or he might be able to. I think he can play so many players. I think I don't know if it's changed. It used to be like that in under 21s. Next one is Grote. I could see him at least going out on loan. Ekuban, I don't think he's done enough to warrant a place. His work rate might give him a chance, but I think his quality is going to be insufficient. Seabiscuit, or Seabiscuit as I otherwise call him. I can't see him fitting into the new philosophy, as it were. De Bock, mainly because I'm sure he said, I think I might touch it before, with you, Mike, last week. De Bock, he openly said that he can't play left wing back, and if it's 3 at the back and 2 wing backs, unless he's going to play centre back, I can't see him basically staying. And then quite controversial, this one. It's one or the other, so I've written both names down here because it's a one or the other. Berardi or Coyle. Basically because I just think we've got Ayling. He doesn't need 2 more right backs. So my instinct is it's going to be Coyle, probably going out on loan again, because I think he's rumoured to be going to, he's being linked with Fleetwood again. I've got Sacco, which I think we kind of already know he's going to be going. Lonergan, we've already seen Felix the Cat go. I think Lonergan, he's probably not going to be sticking around, in my opinion, because I think we're going to be going for another keeper, and I think we'll end up keeping Bailey Peacock-Farrell as backup, in my opinion. I think he deserves a shot, but I just think that the manager will get in someone else, in my opinion. We're up all night for Luke Murphy. He's going to be going, I reckon, because I think he's out of contract after this year. I think it is, so I'm sure they'll try and cash in on him if they can. No secret as well, Antonsen and Denton are both linked with Brescia. I think they're both going to be out of the door anyway. Denton may be on loan, but I'd say Antonsen is definitely gone, I think. Shagnasty, or Shaughnessy as he's otherwise known, I don't know, he's had a bad injury. We might see him sticking around because it could be useful in defence perhaps, but I know that the Leeds fans weren't keen on him when he made his return. Before his injury, I had a bit of a bad patch. We've got O'Kane, he seemed to be one of the guys that a lot of Leeds fans didn't seem to like, so I'm pretty sure that'll be taken into account. There's a reason why there's a couple of players, by the way, I'll go through the team right at the end, I think, that's going to be left over. And I think because I've been training early, I've heard that apparently all the players that were coming back early to start this week, apart from obviously Janssen, who's over in Russia, they're the ones that are probably going to be more likely to feature. So, for instance, Click and Ideguchi, they were there on the pictures. Anita, I think, mainly probably because he's on a lot of money and he didn't really warrant it last season. And then the last one, which I don't want to see him go. I can see him going, and that's mainly because of a link to Reading signing him, and that's Kamar Roof. I think there's still a place for him in the team, personally, whether it be backup or rotation in either the winger roles or up front. But I think he's one that they could look to cash in on him if someone comes in with a decent bid. So my team left over, you've got Bailey Peacock Farrell, you've got Ayling, Janssen, Poddy O'Connor and Tom Pearce. You've got Ronaldo Vieira, Phillips, which again might be controversial, so a lot of people don't like him. Forshaw, Click and Ideguchi. We've got Dallas, I think for his work rate more than anything. Saiz, Hernandez and Alioski. And I've got Roof, which obviously question mark, and Edmondson, the young lad, which leaves obviously a massive gap up front. I don't think I've missed anyone off, but let us know if you agree with them or if there's anyone else I've missed off and who we'd keep instead. I don't know who wants to go first.
So I've got Anita out, Grot, Murphy, Lonergan, Swedish Sensation, then Denton, Seabiscuit, Sacco O'Kane.
I'm just ticking these off as you're doing it.
Yeah, Sacco O'Kane, a Moose, whatever his name is, Asumi Boy,
yeah. I can't see him featuring.
Dubrock, Shaughnessy, Wilkes, and Yosuke Inaguchi.
So, Matt, what about yourself?
Mainly the same players. So we got, this is my list, so I'm going to run through them. Wiedwald, Lonergan, Berardi, Cooper, O'Kane, Anita, Ekuban, Grot, Rude Boy, Seabiscuit, Dubrock, Sacco, Murphy, Antonsen, and Denton. That would be my list.
I did forget about Cooper, if I'm honest with you. But like I said, with him being the captain, I mean, I'd be surprised if he does go. But if he does, I won't be too disappointed, if I'm honest with you, because he started well, didn't he, at the beginning of the season? But I don't know. He's one of the regular scapegoats, isn't he, to be fair? So I don't know whether that will factor in if he takes feedback from fans, or I don't know. I mean, I would imagine with all the abuse that Brad Designer gets like on Twitter and whatever, I'm pretty sure people have said certain players are shit or whatever, and I'm sure that'll come into play. I would have thought in terms of his analysis, but he's going to be working with the players. Now, last couple of managers have deemed it that, you know, Cooper's worthy of the captain's armband, and then Heckenbach kept him as the captain. So Christensen, but. Yeah, Wiedfeld's already gone, mate, so you don't have to worry about that. He's already gone. But, so, like I said, that's the players I've got remaining. It'd be interesting to see who you would get rid of, or whether you agree with us, those in the comments below. Just let us know, see if you're in agreement with us, or whether you think we're just talking out of his ass, which we probably are anyway. The next thing I want to say is, he said 4 or 5 positions needs strengthening. Now, I would guess, I would say this... Obviously, pick your positions, but who would you try and get in if you could get them in? And I would say realistic, not be saying like, we'll go for, I don't know, Trippier at right back or whatever, just as top of my head.
I mean, obviously, I think one of them is definitely a goalkeeper, because obviously the Cat's left. Lonergan, he's probably going to be his way out, as we kind of mentioned. Like, he's, as much as I'd like to see Bradley given the opportunity games, I think he didn't really do too much wrong in how young he was and stuff, and kind of thrown into a pretty poor run of form for us. I think he gave a good account of himself. But yeah, I definitely still think we need another one, maybe an older, experienced goalkeeper to just to obviously kind of keep his teaching Bradley maybe all they know. I think
just called Bailey, don't you?
Sorry, yeah,
Bailey.
Bailey. What did I just say?
He said Bradley.
Oh, Bradley. Good old Bradley.
He's been watching The Chase.
Yeah.
Bradley Walsh on the brain. But yeah, no, honestly, this one kind of depends on kind of who he's going to get rid of. Like, obviously, if we could bring Sam Byron back, maybe that could be an option if we need somebody at right back. But again, it depends on who we kind of. So I think he'd be good at a wing back position as well. I think he's got all of the right attributes to play wing back.
Would you say that he would be needed more than what we've already got then, like in the shape of Ayling or Berardi or Coyle?
Again, I reckon Coyle could be one. I don't think Coyle will be kept in for. I think he'll be kept at the club potentially, but but I think he'll go out on loan. I don't
loan.
think he'll be, or be in the. How old is he now? Actually,
I think he's 22.
Yeah, so he could still play development league, couldn't he? So
Yeah.
So yeah, in terms of, I think it really depends what he's doing. If he's mainly been ailing back to centre back, I know he's an option there.
True, yeah.
But if there's not enough depth, because really in theory, if we're playing 3 centre backs, we need kind of at least 5 quality centre backs to make sure we're covered.
Or at least 3, 1, and then a youngster, I would say potentially, because he does like using youth by all accounts.
So yeah, I don't know. It's quite hard to judge. I think we need a left wing back.
Yeah, correct. That's what I agree with.
I didn't really see much of Kieran Gibbs last season, but is he an option? I'm not really too sure.
I'm going to say I think his wages were quite high at West Brom. I don't know. I mean, obviously we've obviously gone out and pulled out all the stops to get Bielsa in on 68 grand a week. So, but I don't know. Yeah, you're right though. I mean, I'm trying to think, and we definitely need a left back, in my opinion. I just don't know. I don't know of anyone unless Matt knows of anyone who's available or we think could be available.
None that I can think on, off the top of my head. It's yeah, I mean, there's a few names, but the big problem we keep running into is wages and how far we can go with wages. We know we've scrapped that 15 grand limit that Chelino put in place, but how far can we go with wages? How far we're willing to go, and then how willing is someone to come in? I imagine having Bielsa is going to help, a world-renowned manager, but I don't know. I can't think of it. I think we'll just get surprised. Someone out of the blue will come. But who it is, I can't think of anyone off the top of my head.
Yeah, I must admit, I'm struggling with left back. I've got other positions that I've got, but I mean, I don't know what we'll sit. I'll start off. I've got goalkeeper, defensive centre, at least one of them anyway, and I've got and I don't know. I put midfield centre question mark. Just because if we get if we get the ability to say get Phil Foden on loan, I think he could be class, and it could see I don't know, maybe see Vieira or Phillips, probably Phillips. I would say go out on loan or something like that, or maybe Iguchi again to not play football and cultural Leonese or something like that. But otherwise, obviously the strikers you've got Vidra, Hernandez, and Graben, which I did forget actually when you mentioned it. It did remind me that because Vidra could not be happening. It did say Graben is like the backup option, like the second choice to Vidra, or third choice if you want to include Hernandez. In terms of goalkeepers, I personally think if anything, it would go for that Gunn, who's young as well, which is why I think Billy Peacock-Farrell will play second fiddle. If he gets an older one, it's got to be someone really, really good for him to basically to be starting ahead of Bailey Peacock-Farrell, and it all depends because if it's just someone who's like a Lonergan standard or slightly better, I think then he's going to be, like you said, ideal to sit behind Bailey Peacock-Farrell and just be happy to pick up a paycheck for getting splinters on his ass.
Do you mean Bradley? No, Bradley.
Yeah, Bradley Peacock-Farrell, Bailey Peacock-Farrell. But yeah, like you said, left backs, I'm struggling. I'm trying to think of ones. I mean, there's a couple of them that obviously kick about, like I think Preston have got a pretty handy one. Cunningham, I think he's called. He's meant to be quite decent, but I think we'd have to pay quite a lot for him, if I'm honest with you. And I don't know whether we would pay that sort of money for a left back. I think, if anything, the money's, I would guess, is going to go into the strikers and maybe a top centre back, in my opinion. I think Flint was meant to be going to someone like Stoke. I can't remember exactly, but I know it's one of the better teams that's coming down, or ones that finished higher up, for about £5 million. So it looks like he's going to be not coming. I think Sam Byram, as you mentioned before, Mike, he's meant to be going to Forest on loan. I'm sure that's what I saw, on loan. But other than that, then centre backs, you're trying to think of someone who stood out like last season. I mean, I'm trying to think now. Maybe someone like, just picking. And the thing is, that's what you do. You just pick names out, don't you? But like I think you mentioned that Adebayo or whatever it is on loan. I think it could be another loanee, another Pennington type thing. But I think you mentioned before, Mike, if we do get these loanees, ideally we want to try and get a clause in where we can get like first dibs on them or something like that. Yeah, because definitely. Just for progress' sake, because it's all right as going up and we've got all these loanee players. That's if we get up, of course. We get up and then we've got to give all these players back and not be able to sign them. I don't know what you guys think. Matt, I'll go for you.
I don't really have like an overarching policy on it. I think it'd be, have to look at it on, by a player basis. So we probably won't be able to get on loan. Like, say someone like an Canadian Flint, we're not going to go to Bristol, I say, or wherever he is, and say, can we have him on loan? But I think there's some top young players that could potentially come in on loan. The lad at Spurs, Foyth, is that how you pronounce it? Yeah. Had a few rumours about him potentially coming because of Bielsa's link with Pochettino. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think we should just have to say, we should get them in loan. We should get these types of players on loan and these types. I think we just took it on a player-by-player basis and, what's available and what we can afford to pay and what we think we should pay for each individual player.
Yeah,
I think we've got to be careful with obviously, yes, it looks like we've got a bit of money now. We've got a good manager in place which could pull players in, but obviously we don't want to be stung at what we did last time, where we kind of had, we spent a lot of money, didn't kind of reap the rewards, and then it led to us being in League One. So I think obviously we've got to be very mindful. I think we've learned from our mistakes, and I think that will happen again. But yeah, we could utilise the loan market as well as we could with potentially putting some clauses in place to at least allow us an option. If we do get promoted, we get him for, could we have, or even not even saying that we have to be putting a bid, but if you are looking to sell this player, we get kind of first opportunity on him or first refuse on him.
Yeah.
I think obviously in terms of players coming in, I think as much as mentioned then, we have kind of forgotten that maybe there's Tottenham link there as well. There's a few very decent players you wouldn't mind having on loan from Tottenham. Obviously we've got to look at strikers as well, because I think the Vidra ones should hopefully be done. Hernandez, if that one doesn't fall through, I mean, do we still have enough quality there? Probably not. I think we've got enough bodies, but it depends on what's happening with obviously Tyler Roberts as well. Last season. He's a bit of a football manager, won the kid at some stages. So again, obviously, can he reach his potential? Will he be given an opportunity? How quickly will he get back into what he could live up to from his injury? I mean, do we bring back Becchio? Is that
an option?
Does Becchio
just for
back?
the chance alone, I think it's worth it. Having us this, so bring him off at the last 5 minutes so we can all sing his hearts out, seeing Kostas and Berbatov and scores more goals. That'd be my dream. But right, I think what we're going to do is we're going to move on to the last part, which is going to be: do we see any negatives in basically Bielsa's press conference? Just want to say at this point that prior to this getting released, obviously we'd already recorded it, certain news has come into play, such as Kyle's gone out on loan to Fleetwood, and since it looks like Ideguchi and Click are going to be with the under-23, says there's a strong possibility they're not going to be part of the plans as well. So just want to clear that up before anyone says, well, this is a bit out of date. So I just want to say there and then that we haven't missed it, it's just that this has been done beforehand. Cheers. The first one I've seen, is, obviously you touched on it right at the beginning, is he doesn't speak English. Now, the reason I think, the main reason is, it's not so much in terms of the press conference. Yeah, it was a bit long and drawn out, which is fair enough, that were a bit of a pain, but it's more the team talks and stuff like that. I mean, you said he's got some English, but we don't know at this point how well his English is. Can he translate by himself, basically, to tell him exactly what he needs them to do, how to find a belief in themselves or whatever. It's just it'd be interesting to see what happens in pre-season, which we'll come on to shortly. But one of the things I want to go on about that is trusting the club with the friendlies. He didn't want to set any friendlies in place. Now, the reason why I mentioned the friendlies is because these are actually the friendlies that we've got. We've got Oxford United, York City, Guiseley, Forest Green and Las Palmas, and then we've obviously got some others. I think we've got Ossett United, my local team, but I think that's more for under the 23s game. Now, the only one of those that I know of that I've got here, Las Palmas, is only going to be the real test. Now, the others, Oxford, you could argue, going to be half decent, you would imagine, but all the others are non-league. Well, Forest Green, they survived, didn't they? But they might as well be non-league. No disrespect.
Do we not have Benfica?
I've not seen that. I had a quick look on the fixtures page, and I
thought
didn't
it was
see
Benfica
anything.
on the 10th of July. I might be wrong though. I might be completely wrong with that one. I thought we had Benfica was our first friendly. I thought on the 10th, but
it sounds like we might have Benfica as well, but I'm not 100% sure. I just looked on the official website, and that's all it says so far. But unless it's about to be announced, I don't know. I'm not entirely sure. But York City, Guiseley, and Forest Green. There's reason behind them. I think York City and Forest Green is to do with the signing of certain players in the under 17s, 18s, whatever it is. Jack Stevens, and the other, I believe, is Edmondson. I believe that he came from York City, Ryan Edmondson. So yeah, they can see that. That's why that's part of the agreement of signing them. I want to say there's a reason for Oxford, but I can't think who it is or why it is. But guys, it's because they're our affiliate club, so we always get a game against them every year. Now, do you think that's a decent enough test for him to try out his new philosophy, his tactics, or whatever?
I'm not. I'd like to see a few more challenging. If the Benfica one it does come to fruition, then I think that would be better, because obviously that's kind of they're a decent side. They're a team again that like to play football. I kind of like to see us pit against teams that he's kind of trying to play not a similar style of football, I suppose, in a way, but something a bit more when they actually are going to get the ball down. It's going to be of a decent standard. Obviously, it's always nice. It's not always about the results in pre-season. It is about working on your fitness and make sure the team gel and know kind of what you are going to do in certain aspects. But at the same time, I think the team also need to learn what happens when we go 1-0 down. There's potentially, if we're not playing, when we're playing against, again, it depends on what teams we name, but if we're playing full strength, kind of against Forest Green, York, Oxford, and Guiseley and stuff, that we're not going to be in a situation where we're coming back from a 1-0 down. We're going to go ahead potentially in most of their matches. So, do you think it'd be nicer to be, or even if we were going 2-0 down in the match, what's the kind of plan of action then? So I think it would be nice to kind of go against a big club that we would have caused us a lot of problems, and just so we can kind of instill if this does happen in the league, this is kind of how we go about and how we kind of try and get ourselves out of it.
Okay, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, I think like Mike said, it's not necessarily about the results. It's more about gelling, getting things in place with regards to what do we do, and what's the reaction that we're going to have to that we're going to have to put in place when we do go behind, when things necessarily aren't going our way. How do we adjust? How well we can adjust? I think it's more to do with that. I'm not really concerned with the results pre-season, or the opposition beat what's put in front of you, but I think it's more just fitness, getting more familiarised with the system against, in a somewhat more competitive atmosphere than you would find on a training pitch, so to speak. And, like I said, just finding out a little bit maybe about how certain players react to maybe going a goal down or 2 goals down or making a mistake and so on, because I think one of the things we didn't necessarily touch on, and I think it's coming in this season, is the fact that the transfer window's closing earlier.
Yeah.
So we're not going to get that sort of, that grace period from the start of the season to the end of August, where certain players can look at it and say, I don't think it's really working. We can get a shot of him, and we might need to do that. So it's kind of, maybe these friendlies take on a little bit more importance, but I think overall it's just going to be about fitness, getting the system down, figuring out who works well where and in what scenarios and so on.
Yeah, I agree with that. One thing I would say is, do you think that the pitches will be an issue, or do you think because it's middle of summer it's not going to matter?
No, I don't think it's a big issue. I think at this point in the year, I think lots of teams will have, if it was friendlies happening in January, then maybe you'd have those problems. But I think obviously all the teams are off, it's pre-season, they're getting their pitches ready and so on. So I think all the setups will be fine. I don't think we'll have a problem with that.
I just thought of it then as we were on about it. I thought, well, actually, I think Forest Green play on I want to say they play on a synthetic one. I think I'm not 100%.
I think they do,
but otherwise, I would think like York City. I don't know how good theirs is. Guiseley's is all right, but it's not like a carpet or anything, which is what they're saying. They were going to be keeping it on the carpet, I think is what he said on the press conference.
Oh, yes.
But yeah, a couple of other things I just want to mention just before we wrap it up is They went on a bit about the Argentina sort of thing, didn't they?
Yeah, it's a bit too much for my liking.
Yeah, that was the one downside, I think. But it just needed a quick answer, didn't it? Yeah, they're in bad way, but they should get out of it. That's all it needed. But yeah, I suppose we went into detail, which could be a good thing. It does mean that it sounds like press conferences are going to go on for quite a while. Normally, used to like 10-minute ones, 12 minutes, something like that. Look like they're going to be long. I'm dreading what it's going to be like when Adam Pope and whoever else try to interview him, and it's going to be like ridiculously long. Bloody hell, I'm not looking forward to that. But otherwise, anything else to add before we wrap it up, lads?
Have you seen the training video thing that came out a few
for us?
On the Leeds. It's just on the Leeds Twitter.
I've seen
very short.
No, I've seen the pictures.
No, it's a very short video.
Facebook,
it does look like that. Sammy says he's struggling a little bit. Not gonna lie. It does look like they're all absolutely. But yeah, you're not seeing a lot of players there.
Right.
To be fair, there's quite a lot of people coming to conclusions about who's.
That's what I mean. That's what I was saying earlier. They're saying the ones that are there earlier, the ones that are definitely going to be in the team. All the others have been told they're going to be under 23s.
Yeah, there's a lot of players basically we all named that aren't there. So I don't know if that's giving away much, or we're kind of reading a bit too much into it.
Are we just like geniuses? We've just worked it out.
Yeah, it's seemed that way.
Yeah. But anything from you, Matt? Anything else that we've might have missed?
No, I mean, I saw a couple of things, before we started this video. One, he during the training sessions, he seemed to be speaking to Phillips quite a bit, quite a lot.
On this video, you mean?
No, yeah, before we got into this video.
Oh, right.
Just what I've seen, because I've been flicking through news while we've been going through the questions.
No, I meant the video that Mike's been on about. The one on Twitter with the training. Or do you mean before training and everything?
No, I haven't seen the actual video.
Right. You've heard someone's mentioned. I get you.
Yeah, I just flicking through news. I normally do it on the daily, but I just saw something that he seemed to be, putting quite a bit of focus on Phillips. I mean, he's no doubt talented, but whether that's good focus, like he did it well, or bad focus, well, we'll have to wait and see. But again, I think we've just got to wait and see, really, see what happens, see who comes, see who goes. But
exciting times.
Yeah,
it is. Yeah, like I said, going back to the beginning, should we be excited? I think the answer is yes, because there's going to be a lot of change. I think that's what it is. I mean, we definitely need change after last season. It can't get any worse. I mean, like I mentioned to you last time, we've got 4 wins in 2018. That's definitely a statistic that needs to change. But yeah, before we go, I'd just like to basically just say, let us know your thoughts in terms of the players you think we should be getting rid of, and why, if you can. That'd be greatly appreciated. How do you think the friendlies will affect us at all? Or anything that we've mentioned in the video would be greatly appreciated. But last, I'd just like to thank the 2 lads that have joined us today, Mike and Matt, both top lads, of course. Have got their own channels. I'd start off with Mike, just to go ahead and pimp your channel.
Yeah, I do mostly Android-based videos. I do Football Manager Mobile. So if you want to see the worst version of the game available on the market, head over to my channel and give them a watch if you fancy. And if you like it, then make sure to drop us some.
Yeah, and Mattinho?
Mainly do racing videos, but I'm actually going to be getting back into a Football Manager series that I was running a while ago. I've got a brand new computer now, so and so on and so forth. So yeah, if you're up to your Football Manager or you're racing, then come check my channel out. Probably a link in the description.
Top link for me.
So that's going to be it there. Thank you very much for watching. If you have enjoyed it, please go ahead and smash that like button. If you'd like to see more, feel free to subscribe, and hopefully join us for the next one, which hopefully will be around this time next week, hopefully, fingers crossed. But until next time, we'll see you then.